All right, what is good, boys? Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is May 26, 2026. Here's a P&L that is the least of anyone's worries, though. And here's a trade I ended up taking, and let's go over the bias real quick. So in Discord, I posted this morning that I wanted to see a tap into this 30-minute for value gap right here. This 30-minute get created, and then we can see a possible rejection out of it. And I was really bullish towards these equal highs right here and all-time highs. So that's really what I wanted to see, and we ended up getting exactly that at open. So market ended up opening, and we ended up shitting the bed all the way down. We created an SMT right here with this 735 low, and then all the way over here with this 330 low. And then we come on over to ES, you can see that we took out both. Here is that 330 low and the 735 low. So we had a double SMT. Our draws were still intact higher. And then I was going to use this 5-minute as my condition. So we ended up, like I said, manipulating down into this 15-minute right here. And we also manipulated down into that 30-minute. And I wanted to see EQ of that range. So from this swing low to this swing high, hit EQ of that, and then we can continue higher. We ended up actually hitting EQ of this entire range right here, which was even better. You can see we came down and tapped that. And then we also tapped like 50% of this wick, which is, I guess, you could have used as like a rejection block. But I don't trade that way. So we ended up coming down, creating a double S&T, hitting the 30-minute and the 15-minute. And then we opened up this 5-minute for value gap right here. So this is really what I wanted to see. This was going to be my condition. If we just ended up running right through this, could have went ahead and took longs. If we ended up respecting this, I probably would have stayed out the market. But we did have a good draw lower with this new week opening gap over here somewhere. I think it's on the hourly. Here's our new week opening up, this giant hole in the market, and then same thing with ES. ES had that new week opening gap as well that we never came and tapped into. So that being said, that would have been our draw lower, but we ended up disrespecting this 5-minute, and I got in a little bit early. I entered off this 3-minute just because of the sheer displacement. Now I know if you want to just go strictly off your rules and pattern-based trading, the 5-minute would have been the play, but if I'm seeing this much displacement off of a level that I'm anticipating rejection on in order to get rejected off in the first place, then I'm just going to go ahead and take that. And I liked my break-even point. My break-even point was about 20 points away from my entry. It was at that 930 high. Went ahead and went break-even at that 930 high. And then TP1 for me, I ended up taking it at 952 was the level I ended up taking it at. You can see I ended up getting out for TP1 right here. And then I ended up holding runners all the way towards these equal highs. And as you can see, we almost got stopped out. And then I actually got a re-entry play. So I went in for 4 contracts, my original play. I scaled 3 out, and I was letting one run. I scaled 2 out at this original level, scaled 1 out at the top right here. And then I was still letting 1 run. My stops were now at break even. However, we ended up getting another re-entry play. If you guys missed that first entry, we came down and tapped into this 5-minute for value gap right here. Let me delete this original one. We ended up coming down and tapping into this 5-minute, and then we had 2 possible entries out of here. We had this 1-minute, which was going to be the more premium entry. Okay. Or we had a 30-second. So let me go to Top Step real quick. Let me go to the 30-second chart. And here was the 30-second. I liked the 30-second better because it gave us that 1-minute intermediate high as a break-even point. Now, like I said, I was already in for 1 contract. Here's the entry right here at 95375. I was already in for 1 contract originally. My original entry was down here. So I was immediately break-even as soon as I entered. It brought my average entry price to about 936, and I just moved my stops to break-even immediately. And then I was just holding that final runner towards these equal highs. Now, I was going to leave, since I was in for 2 contracts, I was going to leave 1 run for 30.050 because last time we were at all-time highs and we had a good draw at all-time highs. We ended up hitting all-time highs and then continuing higher for another like 200 points without seeing like any retracements. And I ended up scaling that final one at about 0.18 because I didn't like the chop. And as you can see, well, again, my bias was correct. We are now sitting at 30,111, which is about 60-something points away from my final TP. So yeah, that was pretty much it for the rest of the day. It was pretty straightforward. I do want to go over this one trade though right here. It was pre-market. And the reason why I didn't like this. So we had a 2-minute pre-market, and I don't know if any of you guys took this, but there is some pre-market traders in here. And we were rejecting out of, I believe, this 15-minute for value gap right here. So we had this 15-minute, and this is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, we hit this 15-minute. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we hit a 5-minute as well. Well, it looks like we inversed 5-minute back down. But we got the 3-minute closure right here and the 2-minute closure, this would have been what the trade idea would have looked like. Now, the reason I faded this, I was on the market when this happened. The reason I faded this is because I just wanted to stay patient and wait for that more discounted entry. This was super fucking premium. It was only about, what is it? About 70 points away from all-time highs. So like I said, I at least wanted to see this 30-minute get hit, and then we ended up getting the double SMT while waiting. So it was just overall better entry if you just waited, but this is a good pattern trend, I guess you can say. The reason it failed was it was just way too premium. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Check out the view real quick before I log off. Say hi, Rada. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will catch y'all boys tomorrow if I take a trade.